husband, in this case, said that it was a quick engagement. 2 to 3 months before they got engaged. 2 to 3 months.
And she was about 25, 26 too, right?
24 and he was 27 at
24,
that.
okay.
Right. So quick engagement. And then 7 to 8 months later, they got married. So inside of a year, they're married. Now, that's probably not
it's a little bit rapid.
Yeah, very rapid.
I mean, it doesn't give you much time to spot, like really dive deep into what somebody's personality really is, how they'll deal with stress when it's applied to the relationship, what they're really all about. I mean, clinical psychologists will often tell you that people will behave, or they'll behave very well for the first couple of years, like they can hide it. Right. And after the first couple of years, and it becomes a lot more difficult for them to hide what their real personality is like, because we're always on our best behavior. I mean, people often say, or I've heard often said in law, that you often find yourself dating the representative, and then when you get married and say "I do," the representative leaves, and then you're left with the real person. Especially if you rush into it. So you need a couple of years to really, I've used the term vetting before, but you can call it whatever you want, but you need a couple of years to watch the person and see what happens when stress gets applied to the relationship. Travel, the luggage gets lost, see if she freaks out, if she can handle it or not, stuff like that, right?
Exactly. We did a Before the Train Wreck on narcissistic personality disorders. And narcissists, I don't think that this woman's a narcissist, but I don't really know enough facts, and I'm not a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist to diagnose her. But if she were a covert narcissist, it could take much longer than a year. Then he's in the marriage and kids right away. They had kids like within that first year after they got married. Yikes.
So that's a big red flag, is rushing into the marriage, obviously, right? A couple months after he meets her, gets married within the year. They've got kids by the time they're 26. But that's a lot of what the church tells people too, right? I think that if you're deeply involved right down the rabbit hole into that factory, you've been fed a steady diet of have a big family, do it now, have it quickly, let's go.
Right. Husband said that he didn't see any of this coming. She dressed modestly, and she took a back seat to him being the head of the household. So maybe his radar was up, maybe it wasn't. Obviously, he wasn't familiar with the Rational Mail or any of the other information that's readily available out there for vetting.
But at the same token, I mean, when you meet a woman and she's a skydiver and rides motorcycles, and you're meeting them in Korea, teaching English, like one of the things, like I dated a woman at one point that ran away from Canada to go live in Japan to teach English. And one of the things I noticed about it, and it happened a few times when I was talking to a few other of her friends that were also tied into the group, was that they seem to be running away from something, right? Like, why are you leaving your country of origin at a very young age to go out to the Orient to teach English in a place where you're not completely familiar with? They always had something pushing them out there. It seemed like they were leaving something behind. They had to depart from it. They had to run away from it, sort of thing.